David Douglas Boone. In the late 1990s, David Douglas Boone enjoyed success through his job as a golf club designer. David worked for Lynx, a company that supplied some of the world's greatest golf players with clubs, and as a result, David and his family lived a comfortable life. Unfortunately, in 1998, the company went out of business, forcing David to move on to another company. He quickly rose through the ranks at Zevo Golf. They too would follow the path of liquidation and bankruptcy. To top it all off, David was in the midst of a divorce from his wife Terry, and the two now had to decide the custody agreement of their 4 children. Fast forward to 2006, David was now 56 years old, and he and Terry maintained a good relationship following their divorce. David found employment with yet another golf club manufacturer, and things had seemed to calm down for him. That's not to say that David wasn't under a lot of stress, but the stresses of being in a company that was liquidating were well behind him. Despite their divorce, David and Terry were on good terms, and the two would regularly catch up with each other and take care of their children together. In 2006, David was living in the 26,000 block of Town Center Drive, Lake Forest, California, in an apartment he shared with his youngest son, Davis, who was 17 at the time. On December 5, 2006, David was last seen leaving his home between 2 or 3 p.m., and this will be the last time he was ever seen or heard from again. When his father failed to return home that evening, Davis, David's youngest son, called his mother Terry and his brothers. The family huddled into the apartment that the father and son shared and desperately tried to call him and locate him. David had left behind his credit card, ID, wallet, phone, car, and mountain bike. His family believed that he had likely headed out to the Whitting Ranch Wilderness Park for a hike to clear his head. This was a spot that David knew and loved, so his sons hopped onto their mountain bikes and began riding through the trails looking for their father, but there was no sign of him. On Wednesday, December 6th, David's family contacted the Orange County Sheriff's Department and reported him missing. The OC Sheriff's Department did not begin its search until December 8, 2006. Orange County Sheriff's Department spokesman Jim Amormino told the LA Times, quote, "We initially thought maybe he's under stress and needed to get away. We get many calls a day like that, quite honestly. But the more we kept talking to his wife and the kids, we thought, wow, he's had 2 days to come home. Usually in these situations, it's 1, 2, 3 days, and they come back home to make contact." End quote. On December 8, 2006, it was clear that David was in trouble. The Orange County Sheriff's Department finally assembled a team to look for him. Over the next coming days, David's sons, his friends and family, and the OC Sheriff's Department combed the Whitting Ranch Wilderness Park and surrounding areas, but no sign of David was ever found. Officers were deployed on foot and in the air, but these officers failed to locate him. The only trace of David was found by bloodhounds who tracked his scent from his home on Town Center Drive 4 miles into the Whitting Ranch Wilderness Park. Despite extensive efforts, no sign of David has ever been found, and his family are desperate to find out what happened to him. Terry Boone, David's estranged wife, along with David's 4 sons, have been the driving force behind his case. His family pushed the Orange County Sheriff's Department to investigate and also went to great lengths to get his case out there. Terry and the kids would visit local businesses and place flyers around town, hoping that someone knew something. Now, there are theories out there that speculate that David was eaten by a mountain lion or another big creature that stalks the park. While other hikers have been attacked by animals in the Whitting Ranch Wilderness Park, there's no evidence to suggest this is what happened to David. Again, David's family are desperate for answers and are appealing to anyone with information to come forward. David Douglas Boone was last seen on December 5, 2006, and was believed to have headed into the Whitting Ranch Wilderness Park, an area he was extremely familiar with. He is described as a white male with graying-brown hair, blue eyes, standing approximately 6 foot 3 inches tall, and weighing about 220 pounds. David is missing a tooth in the middle right side of his mouth. Anyone with any information is asked to please contact the Orange County Sheriff's Department at 714-647-7000 and reference case number 06-235798. Allan Clarence Theus. 52-year-old Allan Clarence Theus was last seen on November 22, 2003, while vacationing in Lewiston, Minnesota. Allan had traveled from Montana, and according to reports, he planned on hiking and hunting in the upper Missouri River Breaks area. According to the few reports out there about Allan's disappearance, he previously lived in the upper Missouri River Breaks area and had moved back to Montana to pursue his hunting. He also worked for a global positioning company, which enabled him to move throughout the country while getting paid. Those who knew Allan described him as hardworking and dependable, and shortly before leaving Montana for Minnesota, Allan told his mother he would be back by the end of November. Allan's absence was first noted on November 24, 2003, when the motel that Allan had been staying in noticed he had failed to check out of his room. Allan never settled his bill, and after this, the motel staff alerted the Fergus County Sheriff's Office on November 26, 2003. The Fergus County Sheriff's Office entered the room that Allan had been staying in to find that most of his clothes and personal items were still in the room. When he left, Allan had taken only his hunting clothes and his rifle. Law enforcement opened their investigation and began their search for Allan right away. The Sheriff's Office, along with search and rescue personnel, scoured the area for Allan, and within hours they found the first clue. A crew flying over the area found Allan's abandoned truck near the Stafford Ferry on the Missouri River. Inside the truck were a pair of boots and an empty rifle case. There was no sign of Allan in or around the truck, and to this day, this remains the only piece of evidence found in his case. By December 7, 2003, the search had been temporarily halted due to poor weather conditions. The Billings Gazette reported there was, quote, heavy snow and gumbo mud that made the area too treacherous to continue the search, end quote. Despite extensive searches, Allan Theus has never been located, and in 2011, his family had him declared deceased in absentia. Allan Clarence Theus is described as a white male with gray hair, hazel eyes, standing 5 foot 10 inches tall and weighing 160 pounds. Anyone with any information is asked to please contact the Fergus County Sheriff's Office at 406-535-3415. Next, Timmy Gene Thompson. 36-year-old Timmy Gene Thompson left his home on the 5000 block of Hess Road off Highway 138 in Phelan, California, for the last time on August 3, 2002. Reports indicate that Timmy was heading out on a hiking trip with a Charlie Project, noting that he was likely headed to the Salton Sea area on the Colorado Aqueduct to the Colorado River. The hiking trip was only supposed to be for 3 days, but when Timmy, known to his friends as Tim, failed to turn up for work or make contact with his family, they knew something had gone wrong. Tim had a houseboat in the Park Moabi area that he frequently liked to visit, and appears that he had planned to hike through Salton Sea before reaching his houseboat. Unfortunately, Tim never made it to his destination nor back home, and his friends and family knew something had gone wrong. Tim was a dependable person, and the fact that he just dropped off the map sent alarm bells ringing for his friends and family. Tim was reported missing when he failed to return home, and it wouldn't be until September 23, 2002, that investigators with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office would stumble upon their first clue. On that day, searchers found Tim's light golden-brown 1986 Buick Skylark abandoned on a road 4 miles away from Highway 177 on Phelan Pass Road. According to NamUs, investigators found a campsite 3 miles east of the car, and at the campsite was a full beer can, a packet of unopened cigarettes, and Tim's knife. In the days before his disappearance, Tim had quit his job, but he seemed happy within himself. His mother, whom he lived with, reported that her son was in good spirits and showed no signs of wanting to take his own life. The days leading up to his disappearance were mundane, and there were no signs of what was to come. Since 2002, Tim's case has run cold, and investigators are desperate to solve it. Timmy Tim Gene Thompson was last seen on August 3, 2002, near his home in Phelan, California. He is described as a white male with brown hair, might have a beard, has brown eyes, stands 5 foot 9 inches tall, and weighs about 180 pounds. Tim has a tattoo of a California brown bear on the back of his left shoulder. He was possibly last seen wearing a brown button-down shirt, Levi blue jeans, and brown lace-up work boots. Anyone with any information is asked to please contact Detective Joe Janowitz or Detective Michelle Brand of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department at 760-552-6833 and reference case number 0702-03474. Now we have Tyler Joel Christenson. 16-year-old Tyler Joel Christenson was a bright and sprightly teenager who was dedicated to his faith and his education. Tyler lived with his parents and 4 sisters in Snohomish County, Washington, and by all accounts, he was a regular teenage boy. When not working hard toward his grades, Tyler would often attend youth meetings at his local church or simply relax with friends. However, the lives of the Christenson family would be turned upside down one tragic day in April of 2016. Tyler was seen for the last time on April 19, 2016, in the 5300 block of Picnic Point Road in Edmonds, Washington. It was around 6:30 p.m., and his parents reported that he had told them he was going for a jog before heading on to the youth meeting at the church, but Tyler never arrived. When the meeting drew to a close and the church's youth returned to their respective homes, Tyler's parents began to worry. He was a dependable young man who would let them know if he'd planned to be out late. Hours had passed since the Christensons had last seen their son, and panic began to set in. So they picked up the phone and contacted the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. Officers were sent to the Christenson home in Mukilteo, and an investigation was opened immediately. However, officers initially declared that Tyler was a runaway, not a missing person, and stuck by their initial thoughts on the case. Officers were insistent that Tyler had left of his own accord, and a witness sighting days later would only affirm this in their minds. When Tyler's disappearance was publicized, thanks to the efforts of his family, a witness came forward and told investigators that he had picked up a young man who bore a strong resemblance to Tyler. This witness claimed that Tyler had been hitchhiking and was heading towards Shelton and the Olympic National Park area. Investigators also believed that Tyler had taken a ferry from Kingston in order to reach the park. According to this witness, Tyler was happy and upbeat and seemed excited about going hiking in the Olympic National Park. Investigators had never been able to conclusively prove that the person seen hitchhiking that day was in fact Tyler, however. In May 2016, the backpack he was carrying the day he disappeared was found near the High Steel Bridge near Shelton, Washington. Still inside were emergency blankets, clothing, and food. Since this lead, Tyler's case has gone cold, and now the family are fighting to keep his name in the media. His family have a Facebook page dedicated to his case and have put up flyers and posters all around town. Investigators believe that Tyler had made plans to run away and likely became injured while out in the wilderness. But, according to Tyler's family, there were no issues in the home and Tyler was as bright and happy as ever. His family is now desperate for answers and is asking anyone with information to come forward. Tyler Joel Christenson is described as a white male with light brown hair, blue eyes, standing 5'11" and weighing 145 pounds. He has a half-inch scar on his left ankle and was last seen wearing a light blue shirt and dark blue shorts. Anyone with any information is asked to contact Detective Rich Emmons of the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office at 425-388-3839. Next up, Wallace Wilkinson Dunn. 81-year-old Wallace Wilkinson Dunn was last seen on July 12, 2013 at around 11 a.m. in Anchorage, Alaska. Wallace had dedicated his life to his patients in Anchorage and had worked as a doctor for 4 decades. He quickly became a well-known and well-liked figure within the community, and when it was time for his retirement, everyone was pleased that Wallace could now get a well-deserved break. On July 11, 2013, Wallace attended a football game in Waldron Lake with family members. As the family members parted ways, they had no idea that it was the last time they would ever see Wallace. The next confirmed eyewitness sighting of Wallace was made the next day on July 12, 2013, in Anchorage. Wallace was reported missing on July 16, 2013, when he failed to make contact with his family. In the days before his disappearance, he told his family that he wanted to make the most of the sunshine and was going to his cabin in Big Lake. The Anchorage PD received the missing person report and began searching for Wallace immediately. In the days following his disappearance, Wallace's gray Ford F-150 truck was found abandoned at the end of West Susitna Parkway. Inside was his shotgun, a container of now-spoiled food, a chainsaw, and a generator. There was no sign of Wallace, and the search radius expanded. According to Frontiersman.com, quote, multiple agencies, including Matsu Search and Rescue, Search Dogs, and a Hello 2 team joined in the search for Wallace, end quote. Despite these extensive searches, no sign of Wallace was ever found. Wallace's disappearance hit the local news, and then days after his disappearance, a bizarre tip came in to the Alaska State Troopers. Witnesses had reported seeing a man fitting Wallace's description at the Montana Creek campground in Alaska on July 13. This man told the witnesses that he planned to either walk or hitchhike to the Denali National Park. Now, investigators have been unable to verify these sightings and are appealing to anyone with any information to please come forward. Since 2013, there have been very few updates on Wallace's case, and his family told investigators and the media that it's extremely out of character for Wallace to leave without notice. Wallace Wilkinson Dunn was last seen on July 12, 2013 in Anchorage, Alaska. He is described as a white male with white hair, blue eyes, standing about 5 foot 7 inches tall and weighing around 160 pounds. Wallace has large, distinctive freckles on his face and walks with a shuffling gait in slow steps. Wallace was also showing early signs of Alzheimer's disease, which affected his memory and physical abilities. Anyone with any information is asked to contact Melia Miller of the Alaska State Troopers at 907-269-5511 and reference case number AK 130-51623. And now, James Taylor Wall. 33-year-old James Taylor Wall was last seen on January 25, 2015. There are extremely few details available in James' case, and even the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency Community Information Center website is lacking any background detail about him. According to the few reports that are out there, James' mother was informed that he might have been involved in a serious altercation at the time of his disappearance, but exactly what happened and with who remain a mystery. He was last seen at his home on County Road 2 in Double Springs, Alabama on January 25th. He walked out of his home, said goodbye to his loved ones, and simply never returned. This case has continued to baffle investigators and loved ones alike, and nothing makes sense at all. It appears that James left his home in Double Springs and was headed for the Bankhead National Forest. This is where the information stops and the leads dry up. James Taylor Wall is still missing and is considered to be an endangered missing person. He is described as a white male with sandy blonde hair, blue eyes, standing 5 foot tall and 150 pounds. James has the following tattoos: a sleeve from wrist to elbow on his right arm, a tribal symbol on his right upper arm, a dragon on his back, and the name Haley on the left side of his chest. He was last seen wearing a yellow John Deere t-shirt and camo shorts. Anyone with information is asked to please contact Billy Holland of the Winston County Sheriff's Office at 205-489-8765 and reference case number 201-501-000-325. Next up, Michael Hugh Cametti. 56-year-old Michael Hugh Cametti was a retired Army colonel who loved nothing more than being in the great outdoors. Michael's family knew that if he was unreachable, he was likely out hiking or caving, and that he would be back home safely soon. Michael was last seen on May 22, 2014. Although the Charlie Project reports 2011, that appears to be a clerical error. Michael was last seen on May 22, 2014, at his home in Stanardsville, Virginia. His family knew that if they couldn't reach him, he was likely out hiking, but as June 2014 came around, his family began to get an uneasy feeling. Michael was prone to leaving for trips without notice, but now almost a month had passed without any contact. His brother reported missing on June 12, 2014, and the Greene County Sheriff's Office began their search shortly after. Investigators have stated that they believe Michael went to the Cranberry Wilderness in the Monongahela National Forest in West Virginia. On June 27, 2014, state troopers came across Michael's car, and after running the license plates, they discovered it belonged to this missing man. When they searched the car, they found a handwritten note from Michael stating that between May 23, 2014 and May 27, 2014, he planned to hike the North-South Trail. The state troopers, along with the Greene County Sheriff's Office and other various search and rescue teams, began the search for Michael in the Cranberry Wilderness, which spans 47,815 acres. However, the search for Michael proved fruitless, and after searching high and low for him, the search was eventually called off. To this day, no sign of Michael has ever been found, and his family are desperate to find out the truth. Michael Hugh Cametti is described as a white male with brown hair, blue eyes, standing 5 foot 5 inches tall and weighing 165 pounds. He has a distinctive scar on his chin. Anyone with information is asked to please contact the Greene County Sheriff's Office at 434-985-2222 and reference case number 2011-016317. And now we have Rosemary Teresa Kunst. In 1999, 69-year-old Rosemary Kunst and her husband, Bud, were involved in a serious car accident which took Bud's life. Rosemary miraculously survived, but was left with serious injuries. In the midst of losing her beloved husband and dealing with the recovery from her injuries, Rosemary decided she wanted to try a different approach. She loved being outdoors and enjoyed hiking and being one with nature, so she decided to join the Earth Circle Association in the Marble Mountains Wilderness in the Klamath National Forest in California. The group was led by a Native American elder, Charlie Redhawk, and Rosemary hoped that the backpacking trip and spiritual retreat would help soothe her aching heart and body. On August 17, 2000, Charlie, the Earth Circle Association leader, along with Rosemary, now 70, and 19 other people headed into the Klamath National Forest, bound for an area called Woolly Creek. According to reports, this area is considered to contain some of California's harshest terrain and is not a forgiving trail to Spirit Lake, where the group held their ceremonies and meetings. Despite her injuries, Rosemary carried on with the group, and within hours they had completed the 12-mile hike to Spirit Lake. The group set up their tents and cooking equipment and spent the rest of the day engaging in spiritual activities led by Charlie. The next morning, Charlie informed the group that he was headed off on a day hike, and the members grabbed their bags and headed out with him. However, Rosemary decided that she wanted to stay behind, and just hours later, she would mysteriously disappear from Spirit Lake. Soon after Charlie and the group had left for a day hike, Rosemary told Charlie's son that she wanted to go on a smaller hike to the other side of Spirit Lake, but he didn't want to join her, so she went alone. Rosemary walked away from the campground carrying nothing more than a sandwich, some trail mix, and her journal. Unfortunately, this was the last time that Rosemary would ever be seen or heard from again. The trail which Rosemary would have taken was on a hillside with a 70-degree angle and very difficult terrain. When Rosemary failed to return hours later, the group began their own search for her. When this search was unsuccessful, they contacted the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Department and reported Rosemary missing. The Siskiyou County Sheriff's Department was assisted by the National Guard and search and rescue crews, but they failed to find any sign of her. A helicopter with a thermal imaging camera, scent dogs, and officers on horseback were also deployed, but they, too, failed to find Rosemary. The only clue that she left behind was a tuft of her hair, which was found in some heavy brush just south of Spirit Lake. It does not appear that these strands were DNA tested, and since then, Rosemary's case has gone cold. Rosemary's children and remaining family are desperate for answers and believe that the answers lie somewhere around Spirit Lake. Rosemary Kunst is described as a white female with gray hair, hazel eyes. She stands 5'3" and weighs 122 pounds. She has numerous surgical scars and was last seen wearing a blue fleece shirt, hiking boots, and a blue baseball cap. Anyone with any information is urged to please contact the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Department at 530-842-8300 and reference case number 010-01259. Next, Douglas John Legg. In July of 1971, the Legg family took a trip to the 12,500-acre Santanoni estate near the Adirondack Mountains in New York. This beautiful, sprawling estate was owned by a relative of the Legg family, and the family enjoyed many summer vacations at this estate. For 8-year-old Douglas, the estate was the perfect place to run around and explore. The family enjoyed hiking and being outdoors, and by age 8, Douglas had already familiarized himself with the landscape of the estate and knew how to keep himself safe outdoors. Unfortunately, the trip in July of 71 would be their final trip to the Santanoni estate, as it was due to be sold in the coming months. This somber affair would end in further tragedy with the mysterious disappearance of little Douglas. On July 10, 1971, Douglas and his uncle went on a final day hike into the Adirondack wilderness. Douglas ran and skipped down the trails, bursting with excitement and energy. At around 3:30 p.m., Douglas' uncle told him to go back to camp and change. His uncle had instructed him to do this as Douglas was wearing shorts and the next part of the trail was covered with poison ivy. Douglas had walked this trail 1,000 times before, and his uncle knew that he could make it to the camp by himself. After several minutes passed and Douglas had not yet returned, his uncle waited for him patiently. But when even more time elapsed and there was still no sign of Douglas, his uncle ran back to the camp. His uncle was horrified to discover that Douglas was not at the camp. Some of the other Legg children reported seeing him near the main building and on a ridge. The family at the camp called out Douglas' name, but there was no response. Panic now filled the air as the Leggs and the rest of their extended family began combing through the woodlands around them looking for Douglas. After searching for some time and finding nothing, his parents contacted the New York State Police and officially reported their son missing. As the hours passed, the temperatures plummeted, and the Leggs became incredibly concerned for their son. He knew how to navigate the land around the estate and take care of himself, but he would be no match for the freezing temperatures without the proper clothing. Over the next 6 weeks, the Legg family paid for search and rescue teams to go over the area with a fine-tooth comb. Douglas's family were also wealthy and had the means to pay for a huge investigation. The New York State Police also threw all available resources at the case. Despite this, no sign of little Douglas Legg has ever been found. The search for Douglas was one of the biggest in New York's history, and to this day, his case remains cold. Many people believe that Douglas met with foul play, although investigators say that he likely became lost and perished due to the elements. His surviving family are desperate to find out what happened to their sweet, smiling little boy. Douglas Legg was last seen on July 10, 1971. At the time of his disappearance, he was described as a white male child with blonde hair, blue eyes, standing 4 foot 6 inches tall, and weighing 76 pounds. Douglas had a slight speech impediment and was last seen wearing a white short-sleeved polo shirt with navy blue stripes on the collar, navy blue shorts, and black hiking shoes with a circular sole pattern. Anyone with information is asked to please contact Paul Hill of the New York State Police at 518-897-2000 and reference case number BWES 016501. And finally, Arvin Walter Nelson. 51-year-old Arvin Walter Nelson was last seen on August 6, 2014 at China Camp in the Los Padres National Forest. On August 6th, Arvin was dropped off at the camp as he planned to hike through the forest and reach Big Sur Station by August 14th. Arvin was known to be an experienced and skilled hiker, so the 23-mile hike to the Big Sur area was surely going to be an easy one. According to some reports, Arvin had even made an agreement with his friends to ensure his safety. They agreed that if Arvin didn't contact him by August 14th at Big Sur, they would report him missing. Disturbingly, and somewhat prophetically, this plan would have to be enacted on August 14th when Arvin never showed up. His friends never believed that they would have to use this plan, but as Arvin had not been seen or heard from since August 6th, they knew what they had to do. The Monterey County Sheriff's Department was contacted, and the report was filed. Soon after, the Sheriff's Department, along with the California National Guard, U.S. Forest Service, California Highway Patrol, and the Coast Guard, flooded into Los Padres National Forest and began their search for Arvin. Using helicopters, dogs, and ground crews, the search and rescue team scoured the trail but found no sign of Arvin. Although Arvin was an experienced hiker and he took along with him more than a week's worth of supplies for this very instance, neither Arvin nor his trusty backpack filled with supplies has ever been found, leaving investigators baffled. Arvin Walter Nelson was last seen on August 6, 2014. He is described as a black male with black hair, brown eyes, standing 6 foot 3 inches tall and weighing 200 pounds. He was last seen wearing brown hiking boots, a dark blue backpack, and carrying leather flip-flop sandals. Anyone with any information is asked to please contact the Monterey County Sheriff's Department at 813-755-3722 and reference case number 14-05301. Well, friends, there you have it, another set of strange disappearances from our national parks. I look forward to your comments, but please keep it friendly and respectful. Till we meet again, be good to yourselves and each other. Stay safe out there. Get a PLB. It could save your life. As for me and my PLB will see you a little further on down the trail. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time. Tell your animals I said hi.